Signify the door handles, correlations, setting attractions, diversions, and rotations to its track location. Coming into the existence is all levels in your position of the line centers. You guys already exist. Okay? That's already written. But you understand the existence of why you are here is the situation that you're coming into, right? This is a process that we all have to come out of is non-binary. Getting out of non-binary comes binary itself. What's that like? It's to its system location of its computers or anything to its memory. To understand how to communicate to yourself inside connections of the mind. It's the concepts and all calculation with settings. It's the intelligence all frame in track locations. Okay, so we all have to identify that, right? Because if you can't get into your line settings, understand the mind, the heart, the soul, and the body of its existence, of you first, nothing around you is going to exist. Okay, until you understand that, because we're all connected to the same particle, same atom, same molecule, proton, electron, neutron. We're all connected the same. So that's what you're coming back to, is from separation. Putting that together is a formation of you first. Okay, that is just existence on its own system to its allocation of its intelligence. Everything that you see around you is already played out. Let me say that again. Everything around you, pay attention, is already played out, which means it's already been through its alteration of its state, of its mind, of its consciousness, of its awareness. So what is it doing? In position, in settings, you are waking up to a certain frequency. And that frequency gets more lines of communication of its awareness, of its consciousness. Are you aware of what you are perceiving through your eyes? Are you aware of what you're hearing through your ears? Are you aware of what you're doing through your heart? Are you aware of what you're doing through your mind of navigation? Are you aware of your soul through light? Are you aware of your body in position of God or anything through mod? That's the question. And the only way to do that is to go inside yourself. Metaphorically designed, you have to master every single part of your body inside, every single atom, every single molecule. And position location, it's not structured in the same location system as you and tractions. Everybody's atom is different. Everybody's atom is shaped differently, but it's the same source coming back to that set locations. Look at my eye settings. See, they're blue, right? The eye central line connection is blue. So we all understand how to balance that out. As I keep saying, focus on yourself. Don't you want to understand the identifications to your pathogens, your coloration screens, or location system to your cerebro? Because once you get in the cerebro, this is a mind switch. It's going to switch. It's going to go into colossal communication setting and travel. It's going to go through energy track location settings, dimensions. It's going to go through space anomalies of particle acceleration. Okay? So in that center correlation setting, you really do have to focus on your system. Okay, to truly understand yourself of your own space in your own time in all track locations. Okay, it's important you understand that. The more you understand that, then you can understand more levels of you to a deeper core. The more you get in position, the more you understand how to use energy. We're all formations of energy. Everything around you is a formation of energy, but it's already in its operation of its alteration of its mind. It's already gone through its alignment. It's already gone through its time. It's already gone through its intelligence. It's already gone through its operation. We're coming back to everything of awareness of consciousness, but you have to understand you through awareness of consciousness of everything inside you, especially when you get into scanning, more than ever. Okay, more than ever. Look at my eyes. Okay, and so when you get balance, and balance comes in all formation locations when you start to understand yourself more and more and more and more, detecting this, detecting that, understanding this, understanding that. I understand more levels at the placebo. What is the placebo effect? It's different from everybody else. Your DNA pathogens are different. You're not all the same color. Your lights are different. Your hair is different. Your eyes are different. Your models are different. Your makeup's different. Everything is different, but we come back to the same source. Okay? There's no separation there in any way and form. Okay? So you can't get in a modification setting and say, like, this is an atom. No, that's not an atom. That's a program. Okay? I guarantee you, once you go inside, you'll know exactly what it is in track location, because everything inside you works as a engine. Okay? Works as a position locations to a resource center. In position location to its calculations. Okay? So it's a service to you if you understand the implication, when you understand how everything operates inside. Okay? So when it's an alliance, it's a formation to its setting. Okay? So it's a factory line that's inside you, working all the time through its atoms, through its particles, through its molecules. Okay? And everything that formation system is all levels of inside locations. How it operates inside of you to understand your dietary, to understand your immune, to understand your nervous system, and understand your vagus system. It's truly understanding astronomical location settings in you through implication. To truly understand how to use that is all levels of modifications of mind through travel. Okay? So you have to be aware of that. Okay, knowing exactly how to use that. And it starts off with the why. Not the when, not the who, not the what, not the where. The why and the how. The how is everything, how it's done, how it operates, how it connects, how it services. Okay, how it aligns. Okay, how it modifies, how it travels. Okay, how it signifies, how it does it through telepathy. How. Okay? Get into that setting like into system interactions. Okay? It's very powerful once you start to identify yourself more inside, especially when you get into the cerebro. When you get into the cerebro, it's in position locations. For example, I'm getting calculations. Driving this nice car, right? Beautiful car. It's a beautiful day in set locations, right? Mind switch. Whoa, I can't drive the car because it's not there. You see what happened? Mind switch. What does that do through the cortex? It changes the frequencies of the pathogens, right? So in that scent like kinetized system, you really have to focus on that now. Okay? Because it's really understanding more levels of you, how to really get direct, how to communicate, but you really have to use your telepathy and telekinesis, guys, more than ever now. Okay? So when you get into the energy room, which is a clean room correlation and attractions, your locations in your mapping sequence is going to become more real. The set lines of communication interference of the team line communication streaming locations is no longer going to be in recharge. They're going to be in positions to their settings inside locations. Speed diameters, lines of acceleration screen settings, mocking line screen interference, dimensional lines of scales, dimensional lines of high interference, dimensional lines of galaxies, dimensional lines of universes, multi-layers, mega universe locations, mega formation screens, direct line calculation setting to travel. So they have to start identifying that through an algorithm. Okay. Species comes in line calculation setting to understand how to use their tri-line screen locations of bypass. Position locations, how to use the mind, how to use the heart, and how to use the soul, and use the body of reaction. Your body's going to react to everything that you do. But if you learn to balance out the mind, you can understand the setting locations, why it has a 4-element stream into fiber vision, which is your 5th element. Now that's what everybody's interactions of. 3-track line communications comes in all lines, trifactors, line conditions of pi. This overcharges, overdrives, and hard drives the set location settings in travel communication to all levels of correlation setting in travel in position of default. Now, what does default mean? What is copy? What is paste? What is emblem? What is enabled? What is cancel? What is delete? What is erase? Okay. So all that is inside of you. So when you go into the cerebro, it's a position location to sync to your CPU now. So the mind understands the setting location, how it comes in its own surfacing engine and set connections to your information panels or anything calculation to its direction. So in track lines, it's you controlling your hotel with all those rooms inside location. All right. So you guys have security line defense lines and highest interference. I'm not going to chase anybody. I'm not going to remind you in any way and form. You have to remind yourself. Okay. I'm not going to be handing out candy to everybody and say, okay, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. Say, you have to come to me in position if you want your security line defense. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is basically this gives you a lot more balance to really get in your position in your mind and start controlling it through line communication settings, especially with the team. Okay. It's not for me to chase in position locations. I don't chase anything. Everything comes to me. All right. So it's about you understanding the balance and the importance of you when you get your security line defense. Okay. So you have to come to me in position. And that's why we have quantum awareness, Q&A. But people don't want to go to Q&A. Well, I'm telling you right now, in position locations, once you get in the cerebro, you're not going to be able to drive that car. Okay? Because it's the connection line interference that changes location setting to your thoughts, turning it location to its image, which is now in the cerebro. The cerebro is going to be a whole level of new lines and new mind line adaptation line connection setting position its operation. You guys are going to be in your earth pathogen location setting into position location to its system. Okay? So you really have to understand how to use the mind of travel. Okay? That's what this is all about. All right? Okay. So in that track line, any communication lines of surface, it's all direction to your settings and traction. Modification screens. Let's go with calculated line settings. Okay. Sets position locations. All right. Now just imagine there's dimensional doors. Let's go into 3 line cycles into 4 into 5 line provision. Okay. Now calculate modified in track line connection system. Inside lines, you have the ground communication. Okay, you got 2 pathogen screen line connections. The circuitry stream has a center line core that setting tractions, goes line position of circulation rotation. Okay, but it circulates in all lines of communication of programs. Okay, which is going very fast into your flywheel. Okay, starts off with 12,000 line screens at set location. Okay, into 24 platforms at 24, 48, 72, and 144 get you in position and location. Understanding that line center gets you in line communication of face recognition. See the face? All right, so that's you identifications and screens. Okay, that's what protects you from everything that comes inside you. So if you don't have face recognition of protection screen lines and your dimension lines of scales or anything in the balance communication lines, the sentience come through the back door. Okay, it's very important you understand that, especially when you get in the cerebrum. Center core system of its center line is the energy line screen and setting. Sets all communications to your dimensional doors of frames and set location. Okay, so there's so many ways of looking at it because the connections of the cerebral and all calculating line system is truly understand where you're going through a mapping line setting. Okay, so imagine your line communications going through dimensional doors. Okay, but you have to have a locking sequence location of codes. This correlates in line connection of 4 triangulation line position programs, directing line setting to understand the digital frame, the digital locking in calculation of stream interference. So it's kind of like position lines. You're putting a dimensional lock lines to each door, each line communications that you create through an image. so that sentients don't go through the back door and tweak the line communication that taint that line center in its pathogen and set it lines to its beacon light and travel. So there's line communication settings that you have to understand through traction, because that is a circulation rotation line connections in all calculations to its traction locations. All right. So you really have to get in position of balance. Okay. Phase recognition time sequence. So that's why you have security line defense. Okay, because that protects you from all lines of all communication that comes into you through framing. When you go in position of taking line calculation setting to remote or sleep mode or anything calculation system, all through that calculation and recharging. Getting out of recharging gets you out of mode, gets you out of sleep mode, gets you into remote. Direct and redirect in all lines of all communications. Not just looking here, not just looking here and here, not up and down, all around, all at once, in seconds, minutes, through pi. So the correlation line calculation setting at 0, 0 and track locations. 2 operation line screens, 0, 0 operation line connection size settings, box position line settings, cerebro, set location in the placebo. Okay, so it's going to get more complicated now, right? So the complication line center location is its program location, how it sees lines calculation to its perception. Okay, directing line center locations into your alpha channels, position line center interference, delta and theta in communication. 2 over lines of center lines of 2 zeros in line connectionized system, overcharge, overdrive, override, overcorrelate line interference, execute locations 404 error. Error. Okay. So once you understand more lines of communication, the mind itself comes into its acceptance. It realizes it's in the cerebro now. Let me say that again. It realizes it's in its cerebro. The brain itself is coming back to its own formation of its own setting, of its own intelligence. It has to understand why it's inside of you. And if you can't understand that and set position locations, you're not paying attention to your quantum awareness and everything through going through school. Okay? You have to start identifying yourself faster now through your face recognitions. Okay? Because you've never been in line calculation setting. The team is finally coming into space through body frame. The species are finally coming into line communication to setting of its image and set position. It's a totally different transaction, guys. So in line connectionized settings, once they understand the alpha, delta, and theta, they're in a 3 triangulation line screen that splits anomalies in a line position of 2 atom line rotations into 3 correlation settings in 1 molecule design line connection. Okay? So it's really understanding how this all works inside of you. That's why it's understanding the structure, your inner child, why your inner child draws pictures of design, because it's coming from inside of you. Okay? So in that sequence pattern, in position location of pathogens, you understand how to use your cerebral through map. Okay? Because it's interfacing the seconds, minutes, and hours through your alpha, delta, and theta of operation. Okay? Because you're on that grounds now in settings. Okay? Species line correlation setting attraction is set locations into 0, 1. Team location is 0.1. Okay, that's the difference between track lines. 3 line communications equals lines of 7. Okay, so they've got to come into 4 channels, and position line centers, teams come in into 12 channels. Okay, set lines of 12 and set locations equals lines of 24. Okay, sets communication lines of 4 channel line communication equals 3. Spacing line will be in 7. Okay, so you got a 6-year track location line screen that directs the system in your set location line settings. To modify your system is understanding you through lines of platforms of communications in set locations to your placebo. Yes, that's a placebo. Okay. Now you understand the importance when you see an image and you think that's what a placebo is. It's not, is it? Because the center core system, the placebo, starts in the center line. Okay. Into the center line core. Everything has a core traction of about 24, 48, 72, 144 frequency in that position to its locations, into its mind adaptation of perception. Okay? In center calculation, the placebo. Okay? Now, once you understand the number sequence patterns, sets, correlations, set lines of communication setting, attract to its communication electrical line calculation setting at 3-point cis location of molecule design. That's a molecule. Okay? But the molecule starts in the center, in position to location. Everything starts in the center line. Okay? Everything has a platform. It starts with position locations, 12 in reference, 24 in grounds, 48 in frame, 72 computer, 144. You're always going to work with those plateaus into the cerebral. I want you to pay very close attention on what's happening when you go into your mind of travel. Okay? All through identification. Okay? All right. So team line, spacing line. All right. So structured communication lines are 3 molecule design lines and high interference, 3 platforms of communication triangulation. Molecule design lines and high center is A track, position of B, and position of C in track location. Computute lines, balance lines, atmospheric lines, equal lines, high center interference into A track location equals lines, calculation lines, X, Y, and Z. Okay. Sets position track lines into 3 calculation stream interference, 3, 3, 3 in track locations. 2 generation pass, 3, 3 equals lines of 3. Up line, down line, cross line, screen location. Now you're probably understanding what is general talking about through identifications, right? But this is all track line to its position. All lines of communications. And all position locations and line connections, high center interference are fractal. There's the fractal. Okay, people? All right. So now you're getting a little bit more understanding. You see the snowy graphic communication line? That's pretty well. Grid centers, high track location, high system. To really understand your identification lines is really understand you through atom rotation and center and communication lines. The track languages. 4 track communication line systems. There's your atom. Okay. Here's your atom. Here's another atom. Okay. You put it together, molecule. You see it all comes together? That's how you start identifying yourself in side locations, guys, right? Because the cerebral is going to connect, and every cell in your line body is going to have a division of dividing. To really understand the cells is to understand the structure of you in position of your own surfacing engine location of your core that puts a nucleus location line connection setting in direct signals to your flywheel and track location. Center position the calculation, track lines calculation high position, modification screen line connections, all levels of track location, and high position location orb location. Okay? So we all have to identify that through locations. Everything inside works as a team. Now, there's no I in team. Everything is done by itself. But to understand the graviton line, kinetic center interference, track location, pixelation graph lines. Let's go through box rotation centers of the TV line connections. You guys are in a 45-degree angle line communication setting the pathogens, right? Well, each pixel screen line has adaptation core setting. Okay, position 1, position 2, position 3, and position 4. Okay, 4 track lines. 4 XT1000s are on standby in position travel lines in position. Okay, so track lines and high center interference scans position of 1, scans position of 2, scans position of 3, and scans position of 4. Okay, all through a TV box line screen in your system location as center of you and track location. Remember, you're in the center position lines of two pathogens in that location. Okay? So this is more understanding the cerebral, guys. It's going to get complicated. You have to understand your dimensions, your doors, your sky lines, your sky grids, your sky panels. You have to understand all identification system and compute screen interference. You have to understand the panels correlation into platforms and track location. You have to start identifying all lines of communication to settings and travel in position to all lines of interference and pi in dimensional door screens. Okay, dimensional door screens get bigger in track location. Okay, security line, defense line, location grid line screens in set position. But you always have to be in line calculation setting in all track location of face recognition. Okay, because if you're not in face recognition, sentients come in an all track line connection system, takes dimensional doors, screen lines, panels lines, sun line communications, morphine line rotation centers, track to its communication position and travel and communication. Taking you over. Okay, because you didn't identify yourself through face recognition. Okay, through your security line defense. That's why it's important to understand the security line defense, guys. Okay. All right. So I just wanted you to understand the importance. Okay. Because that's how everything's identified now. Through your space and through your time, right? And you have so many lines of all communication setting to really understanding how to use yourself inside. Okay, to really understanding the self engine that you're in position of core, understanding what the flywheel does in position locations and center correlation line calculation setting and traction. What does it do? Why is it there? Why is it circulating? Why is it rotating? How is it circulating? How is it rotating? Okay. Why is it off position location? What happened in tractions? Why is it going this way in travel in position operation? What is happening in correlation lines and high position location and center calculation? Okay. And you always have to identify yourself through face recognition. Face recognition. Boom. Okay. You're always in a picture frame. Okay. This is what protects you from everything. If you don't show your face recognition settings, sentients come in through the back door. And they open all channel communication line screens and high center interference. They change all lines of pathogens, all levels of mats in seconds, lines, and minutes per hour per change. They correlate your line center interference. They take all deviation line screen interference in your position, your files, correlate the track lines, high calculate position, set up a beacon light in position to their planet's surface and track location. Because you didn't identify yourself of face recognition. Okay? All right. So screen wipe, screen settings, and high travel position operation surface correlate line settings and travel. Puts you in position location settings, back in track line settings in location. Okay? So it's really paying attention of your security line defense now, where you really have to protect yourself here because the cerebral is open through panel. Now, why it's open through panel, it's kind of like a walkie-talkie where it has a code line signal. And you have to read into the Botronification of the alphabet. What's your 2020? Alpha Bravo. Copy that. This is a Tango Foxtrot position line centers and track location line system. Just changing line communication to pop-up perception. Tracking calculated lines of Siri. Pulling out some Yankee streaming interference, location quantum interference. What's your 2020 on traffication? Right? Your cerebral will only respond to that. That's why you won't be able to identify that car anymore because it's at a different frequency. So it's kind of like you're in that car and all of a sudden you get into the cerebral and where's the car? It's gone. So you got to rebuild it up again into the frequency of the cerebral. Okay? That's the cerebral. Okay? That's the importance you have to understand. Your position lines and track lines and all lines of all communication system has to identify everything to the core now. Your pathogens, your maps, your geometric settings, your geological system, your GPS lock locations, everything to that set line connections. Okay, so there's so many lines of data highways that you have to understand now, because when you get into Cerebro, you're going to be open through traffic of line connections, interception lines of intertraction. That's going to interline its communication of lacing lines to all TV receptors and settings. Remember how Jenner went through 4 million channels and line connection settings and high interference of TV receptor locations, setting the pathogen locations to one set location. 4 million T receptions in one cycle. 4 million in one cycle, in one frame, in one square root, in one triangulation, in one program, in one dimension. One dimension. Okay? One dimension holds one infinity cycle. One dimension. We got 2 dimension, 3 dimension, all the way up to 12 of foundation. Infinitive loops and anything in correlation. Okay? For example, you got a dimensional line screen, high position, position of platforms, communication stream, interference of traffic, position point center. Balance, right? Off balance in set locations. Balance, off balance. So what do you think that's going to do to the Cerebro? What do you think that's going to do to the flywheel and track location? Off calculations, beta. Boop, boop. Right? Low frequency panel, position lines and track lines, earth line rotation, drop. Okay? So you want to stay at the platforms at 24, 48, 72, 144 and get positioned to higher calculation line screens into face recognition of setting. Okay? So you have to identify yourself more now. So if there's not a face recognition time sequence in position locations, there has to be a face in everything through a door. If there's no face lines and identification code for secure line defense, sentients go through the back door. Not only they'll take your line communication to dimensional door screen linings, but they'll take your pathogens inside locations. They'll take your cerebral cortex line design line calculation stream interference, put your face recognition time sequence into multiple levels and legion loop communication sending to travel, back force location. Now, I don't think you want that interaction. Pack force line settings, high calculation system. Okay. Understand that. Okay. So that's why I want you guys to be aware of what you're coming into. It's a totally different transition. Okay, because now you're dealing with the mind of travel through perception of conception. Okay, so that you have to understand the altered state, the altered mind lines in its visionary line connections of its core. You got a visionary line, velocity into volume. Vector cross, sense lines, sectors, and position of quad and track location. All right. Setting communication lines, a high center of position. Sets position of point centers of 1 and track location of 2 and 3 and 4 set location. Okay. Your cerebro is right here. You're always in the center correlation settings in neuroline communication of dimensional door screens and track location. Okay, it's identifying everything in circulation of what it's doing in rotation, guys. In set connections. Okay. You have to be aware of that. You have to understand the angles, the points, the tractions, the graphs, the mediation line screens, high center interference of data files in set locations. And again, you're working within the cerebro. Okay, this is the cerebro now. Okay, it's on both side locations now. In position attraction, all calculated. Okay, so file 1, file 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so you got a dimensional line screen, set lines of communication of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Face recognition is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the Earth's pathogens of your transit now is into its setting locations of protection. Face recognition line settings. So no sentients can come in position. 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 You understand now? Because you're identifying yourself and you're protecting each lines of each dimensional door that change the seconds, minutes, and hours in track location system. So it's like a lock in position location to a locker. Okay? But you've got to get in your system locations of setting. Okay? Especially when you come to modification, right? Positions of track lines in line calculation system, because the team's coming into modifications, operation of division, modifications, operation of directions, modifications, operation, and height setting. So you got position of direction, division, and dimension. 3 track lines. Equals lines of direction, division, okay, and setting. 2 track lines. Modification line interference locations and direction, okay, in all calculations, high center interference in position locations in its down setting. How to use it in track location line screen interference is all levels of view through space modulation. Okay. So you guys come into remote. You guys are going to be in remote. You no longer will be in position of track lines and position of recharge. You automatically be in a remote, in direct, going this way and this way in traction. So your eye center is going to go like this now. You're going to be automatically in remote at a recharge. So you're going to be in high alert in all platforms and all communication settings, all through your dimensional door screens and set location to a system. Okay. So you have to be aware of your pathogens and your mapping sequence, because each line has a dimensional door. Okay, so let's go through correlation setting interactions. Here's a line communication setting to a room and track locations. Okay, that's a room, right? That's a dimension. This is you. You're here and setting. So you set up dimension lines of point system 1 here, point system here, 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 here. Wherever there's a point, you put a track lines, device line, screen location. I calculate modified, right? And again, you're in your cerebro. Okay, so inner line calculation setting, you have your dimensional door screens in different colorations and reflectors, so they only see the reflections of themselves. If they see reflection and line communication in your face recognition system, they take away your dimensional door screens. Each pathogen screen line's high center interference. To travel your line communication, you add your energy signatures, line connection jump scars, point lines of tracks, and high center position with calculation. Add molecule design lines into 3 track lines. 3 equals lines of molecule. Sets lines, 3 lines locations of molecule. 3 line communication setting. All right, so that molecule stays in track location and clocking. Sets lines of communication of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set location. Okay, so you're good, right? You got your face recognition, secure line defense is protecting all lines of dimensional screen lines and high calculation. All through the cerebral. Okay. So if you understand more levels of this, then you understand the traction. This is where you really have to understand how to use your molecules. This is really understand how you have to use your atoms. You have to really understand that now. Okay, because the cerebral is only going to be able to identify that settings and set locations. So like I'm saying, you're going to drive that car and all of a sudden you get in there and it's like, oof, where's the car? Disappeared. Right? So you got to build it all up again, right? To a frequency screen line in setting locations so the cerebral understands where you are in the mind, guys, of conception. So you don't get course of confusion or anything like that it's setting to travel. Especially when you go into the heart of time to its reactor, okay? Especially when it goes to its alignments. Knowing when it's going through time, frequency, location settings. Where's the correlation track lines in your line communication of your door? Is it an alpha, delta, theta, or omega? Where's the track location? Is it in a 4 lines of molecule design, or is it in an atom rotation cycle? Where is the correlation setting the fractals, correlation lines of the metric meters and set position of scale? It gets more complicated if you don't understand the cerebral cortex of its design. Okay? So you really have to understand more levels of you inside through computer. And I keep saying that is to focus on yourself. The more you focus on yourself, the more you understand the mind conception locations when it comes into time capacitor. And that's what you're coming into now, time capacitor. Not only your binary is going to change, but your flywheel is going to go faster now. And the position of your affinity line screen high interference is going to come in position to its archetypes that's going to be in position of attractions. We start with location setting, right? Through cerebral. Now, directing communication line interference attraction system has a 12,000 line disk into a 24,000 line disk, 48, 72, and 144. 144 disks in core setting line and nucleus core line settings into your metabolical screen line position of travels into Metatron, Mesokick, and line calculated setting of matrix grid workers working on digitalized communication line settings of all competent settings and all travel in your operation surface in your cerebral cortex of design. Okay, so it's going to get very complicated. Okay, very, very complicated. Okay, so in that setting, high interference, you have to start each line communications to each door frame. Point line division start with the 4 settings in track location. And each one has line calculated setting. Remember, it's the frequencies. So alpha door 1 equals lines calculated in delta, which is the heading communication. Where is it at? Is it in theta or is it in omega? The track locations, right? You have to have that identification, also your face recognition to that door. Okay, so it's important because that's your identity. So you need an identity to each door. If you don't have identity, sentients come in track location. So they take the dimensional door out of the equation and put it into their pathogen screen location setting and change it in set location. Okay, do you understand now the importance? All right. So each door has a signified correlation setting to a code. Now that indicates position lines of high center interference. Now that's a 12 indicated line interference. That's where you start using the inhibitors. When you start understanding the inhibitors, each inhibitor has a door line screen. Now it has a direct line communication setting that signifies its position locations of detection. Signified detection in line condition setting. Higher levels of security in lines of platforms in position to its calculation. Okay? Correcting lines and modification screen lines in circulation and rotation centers and traction. Okay? So it's complicated, isn't it? But that's what you're dealing with every single time you go through correlation setting attractions through remote. Okay? This goes on every single time you guys go in line settings to recharge. So getting position line set and other solar screen interference. Modifications of your space modules get you into navigation screens. Now, inline communications, once you guys get inline setting into your system of the cerebral, the alphabetical screen line is going to change tractions into escape. Escape communications, line set, line condition navigations, consoles, communication, and position of control, and calculation lines of command, and line conditions of force. Equals lines of face of recognition. So in that line center high interference, you track location and region lines, systematical change position and compute screen interference travel. Escape communication line screens high interference in position locations that neutralize the corresponding track lines and magnetic highway information. Changes track lines in a 4-track line, 5 provision, 6 and 7 lines of calculation. Okay. Waving cycles, lines of formation line screens into truth and false narratives in line communication of programs and set calculation. Okay. Each dimensional door line, screen line changes position of travels and pathogens in set location. Okay. So you have to be aware of what you're doing through your map, what you're doing in chronological order, line connection setting. So let's get in your film strip screen lines. Okay. And again, you're in your cerebral. Okay. All right. So it's understanding pathogen screens, waving line cycles, high correlated settings through pi. That's pi. Triangulate line conditions of 1-dimensional door, 2-dimension, and 3 calculations into 4 settings, 5 in provision, 6 calculation. Okay, so it all depends on your motion line track. How many lines did you go through? 24 cycle lines of seconds. Set position, let's say you position locations into 1 million line frames equals the correlation lines and height center positions and perceptions over pi in track location. Okay, so it all depends on your positioning of your platforms. Platforms in each line communication has a correlations track. Okay, so you're good to go, right? You stand here in position, in setting, right? So you set yourself energy signature here, 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 here. So you're all in identification setting in your cerebral cortex line setting. So the sentience can't come through the back door. Okay, or anything in center correlation, or anything in track location. Okay, so you guys are going to be in high alert now because you've never been in the cerebro. So in that position plays out a line signal, which is an audio line graph. Now, audio line graph is calculation line screen, graph communication in settings. Okay, puts position lines of perception, equal location as cerebro, in placebo, and line direct signals into modifications and set lines of platforms and track locations of dimensional lines of scales. Okay, audio graph interference, that's what you're coming into. Okay, so the audio loop has an inline line rotation interference in and out in audio locations. Each dimensional line scale has pathogen screens. Remember the data highways in a 4-track location? Remember the point lines of the XC1000s coming in track line conditions and set positions calculation? Well, in provision, the 4 correlation line setting has attraction, T-reception line setting. Okay, and again, it's in the cerebro. Okay, so everything happens in the cerebro. First it was your earth, now you're in the cerebro. Higher level division, higher level of consciousness, higher level awareness, and higher calculations of your CPU. All right, really understanding how to modify your settings when you come into security line defense, because you're always going to be working with all communications of Pluto now and direct signal. In set location of 3 triangulation line connections, in position through pi, sonar, identifications, programs, allocate time sequence, all through set location. And again, through your cerebro. Okay? So once you understand the data files and stream location system, you have to basically protect more lines of your files now. Okay? Especially when you go into fast line screens. Getting data line screen interference in box frames and position of travel lines of point lines of settings, high continuous position, overline sequence, lapping sequence, directing lines off calculation sequence, allocate timelines, frequencies, and molecule offline interference and triangulation line conditions not together. Okay, separated, sentient comes in. Whoa, uh-oh, what's just happened? Right? So sentients can break force fields. They can break main fields. They correlate the calculation strain interference in your detecting settings in travel coordinate line settings only if you change your emotional system. Right? They get in your data files and they overline your screen setting. So they take all your files and track location. Right? Then they bring others in and others in and others in. You take your files out through equation, right? So you don't want to do that, do you? All right, so really start identifying everything that you see, line position or perception, because it changes everything through its pathogen location of DNA. The tractor's correlation setting is really understanding position locations. You have to really balance out your frequency sound more than ever, because you're going to be inside your cerebro, okay? Yes, Trinity. Okay, I just want you guys to be aware now, because your mind is switching not just through travel, but the mechanism line calculation setting of high alert course setting track lines of in position locations of line setting locations in Pluto. You're going to be working with Pluto now in a 3 triangulation line split. and is 7 provision cycles in high calculation line setting. So we all understand how to identify that now, right? Okay, so it's this that's got to understand the balance now, okay, through its dimensional doors and all line communications program. Mainframe, structure frame, or correlations of calculations set location of frames. But each one has line settings. Now remember, the cells are going to be line calculations of line dividers. They're going to be wall connectors on each lines of panels. All right. So they're going to be 4-track line bearing provision lines of 4 lines of 3 calculations setting and travel communications. So they're going to be around the line center. Atoms and center line communications are going to be an alliance. Interapplication 1, 2, 3, 4 sets lines of communication setting and travel position into 3 set line connections, 7 in connection high interference of perimeters. Yes, this is what's happening inside location, right? So molecule design lines are going to have 3-point track setting in position to a 4-line center. That puts position line cycles allocates the time center centimeters will come in interaction. Maps and sequence lines are 3 triangulation line splits in set location and setting. So protons, sets lines of neutrons, neutralize correlates in positive negative line high interference into photons. Photosynthetic location setting in a 4-line rotation center in position of travel. Okay. So you have no idea what I just finished doing. Okay. But this is how the cerebral works. Okay. All through pathogen. You're coming into higher lines of higher levels of awareness and how to understand your mapping of your geological, your geometrics, and your geographical system. Okay. All through shapes and anomalies. All through letters, numbers, and symbols. You've got to get in order and position location in your system to understand how to use it in all lines of inside locations of your simulator and set location, right? All right. So what does everybody think about that so far? See how they all come together? All right. That's basically what it is, guys. It's just really understanding that you have a set lines of a hotel that you're basically trying to control, and you're trying to get in position of each room that's secured in all lines of all communication. There's no leak in any way information line connections, because you have to place line division lines, tweak the line wires, change the correlates and setting attractions of the dimension door screens, and change the locking location setting of code fragmentation interference. So there's line settings where it gets complicated. It's already complicated as it is, right? Because this is all information coming from the cerebrum. See, this is what you have to truly understand when you guys go into recharge correlates setting attractions. This implicates your system lines of implantation settings and track locations through your image. So you're protecting your image, you're protecting your files, you're protecting your doors and your dimension screen settings, and you're protecting lines of your face recognition set locations. So you have to identify yourself more now. Okay, because the awareness and its consciousness is coming back in frame, directing all levels and its transistors of its resistors and set location. Okay. Shapes and colors translucent into images that we can yes, you can translate anything in information line screen. Just don't change your DNA pathogens because it changes the frequency line connection system. That's why you guys have a test on Friday. So when you pick up the phone, in position, you're in conversation. You're tethered to that lines of its intelligence that you're totally fine in pathogen. But if you put it down and don't disassociate, disengage, disattach in settings, you're still connected in position. But the formation line screen of the frequency has now changed, which means you're not in the same correlation setting attractions of that intelligence. You're communicating with another frequency of another dimension, of another cerebral, of another placebo, of another formation, of another correlation setting, another track line condition setting to its operation. Okay. So it's very important of what you're doing when you're picking up frequencies. You don't want to alterate that settings because it changes the cerebral cortex of its design and circulation rotation, and it realigns and recorrelates the setting communication of its dimensional frame lines and all levels of data files in frequency. Okay? So you really have to get in position your balance through your emotional line connections. Okay? Get out of the emotions. Get out of the emotions. You're coming into the cerebral. Okay? Now, the reason why I say that is because your dimension screen lines in your track location system is changing the levels of information. Now, when you understand how to balance out through your altered state of your mind, of your consciousness, of your awareness, you get a better understanding what you're communicating with when you are in recharge or in remote. Okay, space line will be recharge in position location setting for more levels adaptation of its image. Box frame, mainframe, and position locations. Calculation modification of team line will be in position locations and all calculation lines to understand their settings, how to communicate to all levels into a simulator to its simulation, not just images, but data files of communication, algorithms, programs, files and files and files, right? So once you understand how that all works, this gets you in a better track location, a division. Okay, you really understand how to use that settings. So when you go here in position of cortex and center it, all lines of atoms and line connections and molecules and line connection system, you really have to understand how they're put together. You really got to pay attention to that. Okay? Because they're doing their system locations through their operation system. But do you understand what they're doing? Is the question. Is the question. Okay? Once you understand the question, it becomes affinity A. Okay? So once you understand that, it becomes a circulation. Once you understand that, it becomes a rotation. Okay? Once you understand that, it becomes yin and yang, a process calculation. Okay? 6 and 9. Right? So you always want to accumulate with your oversoul now. Okay? All through pathogens, all through dimensions, all through screens, all through application centers, anything in the location system to your set and connections. This is about you balancing you and all levels of formation. Okay? Face recognition. Okay? See, face recognition is everything, guys. If you show a face recognition, sentients come in. Okay? Identification is everything because it modules lines of space, especially when you come to your pre-flights. You get a better understanding of how to use your alphabetical system into your keyboards, key locks, keyframes, key triangulation lines, setting location, your settings, flash drives, your connect high interference. You can understand what that is, the information now. But to identify your system and traffic settings, say goodbye to that car. You come in at new line calculations that you have to remodel, retrack, reposition, realign, readjust, refocus, recalculate into a computer. Setting lines in a communication system is all levels of you inside locations. So start identifying why you have this inside you, especially for the team. The specifications when it comes into spacing lines just really has to understand the set lines when it comes into image. Your thoughts are coming in line. You're not losing anything information. You're coming back to your memory, but the position of its memory is coming into the mind of the conception of its setting. Okay, so no thought provisions, image of core, interaction, adaptation, force to be reckoned with. To understand that is addressing the elephant in the room. Okay, so the image is going to be in that line setting, and the cerebral is going to have adaptation of a screen location that's going to show the realism of its set connections. The realism. Okay. Spiritual adaptation of recognition, guys. Okay. And the team will be working with algorithms. So they have to address 15,000 elephants in the room. all at once. 20 million elephants in the room, all at once. Species, 1. Team, millions. Okay? So, because your acceleration lines are changing in your system location modifications, your modulations and your space modulation line screens are changing the adaptation of surface now. Okay, through the alpha, delta, theta, omega, zeta, zeta radiation, right? You're dealing with line connections. And it's all through body now, all through alignment. So you're going to feel it in all ways and forms. Not only that, you're going to be in space from head to toe. So you have to understand what that is in set position. Yep. Well, in position locations, I'll show you that's exactly what it is. Great power becomes great responsibility, more than ever now. Okay, so when you're looking through perception, you're going to see so many data files, and you have to identify that because the cerebro does. But do you? First off, do you understand that you're in the cerebro? First off, do you understand the image of its set location of its cerebro? First off, do you understand what a placebo is? First off, do you understand what an atom is? Do you understand what a molecule is? What is a proton? What's a neutron? What's a photon? What does it all mean? Why is it inside me? Well, you understand the how, right? So that mind in conception is going to do a major switch in set positions. It's going to change your transistors and resistors out of non-binary to binary. That's what it is. No more non-binary. It's going to be binary now. You've got to get a computer line of its memory. And the only way you can understand that is through the voice line grid location system of eye perception. Eye perception. Look at my eyes. Okay? So, this is what we all have to do now. To understand more levels of you is not just inside you, but it's everything about you. And how it comes into all levels of relation to your connections to your environment. Okay? Because that's what it is. Everything is coming back to you of its awareness and its consciousness. Okay? Yep. So really get out of the emotional line track, guys, at that level. Okay? Because try to understand that line settings locations that you worked all day putting this model together. So, for example, in line connectivity centers, let's say you have this amazing puzzle. You just put it together, looks fantastic, it's amazing. I'm looking at it constantly, taking pictures, and all of a sudden, it disappears. Where did it go? Uh-oh, it's not there. What happened to it? What is that? A switch. So everything that you've gone through in line calculation setting is no longer in existence, which means you have to start all over again through mind of conception. Okay? That's what it is. That's the cerebro. Okay. Trust me, it gets much easier once you get into that calculation system. So it's a force to be reckoned with and know exactly how powerful it is once you come into the mind of navigation of travel. Okay? Starting all over again is putting your position of what a cerebro is, or what an atom is, or what a molecule is. And then you start to identify everything inside you is the same thing of everything that you see outside. Major pass, guys, on that one, eh? So that's why you guys are separated. So you're coming back to what you've never been separated from. You're all connected to the same, but you're a different DNA frequency, and your pathogens have to meet that quota. Now, a quote in any line communication system is truly understanding you through alteration of the mind. It's understanding the conceptual location when it comes into the heart through time of frame, and understanding your soul through light, through perception, how to see the lights through graphs. Understand it through its map. Everything you see around you has a map. is having a conversation with you as a map. Maps of equation. Okay? Maps of equation. It's already been through its alteration of space and time. Okay? And that's what you're coming back to. Awareness of everything that you can imagine is consciousness. But you have to be aware and consciousness of everything that you see, everything you do, everything you connect to through all your senses. Okay? All through modification of consoles and everything through navigation. Okay? And then it will get easier because you're not altering your mind through your behavioral system of emotion. And that's what it's all about, is emotion. Getting balanced with your polarities, understanding your paradox. Okay? This is a mind shift into the galaxies, into the universes. Okay? Into real time, guys. Into the existence. And it affects everything that you do in perception. You create it through your realities. And it stays in your settings. Yeah, real time. Because it's the existence of you. But you have to find the existence of you inside first, or it's not going to recognize anything information locations. All right? It's the state that you're in. Put you all levels of psychological reset. In the psychosis location, how you see yourself into the mental capacity, into the meta capacity, into the spiritual capacity. Okay? 3-track line division. Factors over pi. Okay? That's all it is. Right? Are you ready? You know? So, it gets much easier once you really understand that when you get in position, location of center of view and calculation. Right? So you see more lines, you see the grids more, you see everything more. You see the clarity, the focus. You get to understand more. You really are there. And when you're there, you try to understand why you're there is the how. And the why understands the how, and the how understands the why. Oh, I know why I'm there. Because you're already done it. Right? So when you're in that position location, what Gypsy was talking about, your day's already done. But the faster you go, it's position track lines. So let's say you set position line centers and position locations into a 24-day, right? So that 24-day is already done. 24-day, not 24 hours. Okay? So you're not working on a 24-hour. You're working on a 24-day. That's 24 days already done through the mind. Now, the conception knows that location system of the cerebral, the placebo cortex line calculation to its image. That's already done in traction. But does it understand what it's doing through its time? Does it understand what it's doing through its soul, through light? Does it understand the body through its simulator of its sim? Okay? That's what you guys got to come into and set location. Okay? So you're not working the 24-hour. You're working with the 24-day. You're working with 2 million days. Okay? You're working with 2 billion days per second, per minute, per hour. It all depends on how fast you get your data. Your process of your data can become in seconds, minutes, and hours in that track location system and anything in that position locations. But you're not working with 7 days a week. You're not even working with the same day. You just exist. So there's no days of the week, is there? Oh, there's no days of the week. Well, then how do I identify my system on the days? Just the existence of the now. So the conception of the mind has to understand the process. The team line center interference will no longer be in precog. You're going to be in the mind conception. You're going to be in the heart through time, which is real time. You're going to be in the center correlation lights, which is real time. And you're going to be in the body simulation, which is going to be real time. All at once, all information of an alignment. And you're going to see it through perception. Okay? So there's so many ways of looking at this. But there's always one way to look at in position location of its existence. Understanding in all levels of existence, then you can get position locations everything will come to you. Everything will come back to you because it already exists. You have to exist. That is no question. But it's why you exist is the question. Becomes the how. And once you understand the how, everything comes in formation of light, of purification. You just exist. That's it. So you just mind travel and you do everything that you want. Right? Now, if you want to do something through a 24-hour day or a 5-hour sequence, it's already done in traction. Goes through frame. 5 hours is already done. So your body catches up to that. You're already there. 5 hours is already complete. All right? But if you don't understand the frames in your system locations of the existence of the now, how are you going to understand anything through its alignment of your travels, through your paradigms, through your polar shifts, through your pulsars, okay? Or anything through that set location, so it's paradigm, okay? These are the things you have to start recognizing when it comes into your polarities, guys. Understanding your track locations when it comes into your Earth, okay? In all calculations, setting your transits, your astral projections, and your soul identification of light through travel, and your ethereal. Once you get into ethereal line communication, line centers, line interference, your all track location will be your 5-line screens, which is your 5 elements of data highway set locations into 7-line connections, 7 ways of volunteers, 7 downstream locations. But position line calculation settings comes from 7,000 line seconds per frame. Now you have to understand how to use that in its transit on its own system of its own highway. You have Omni highways, you have division highways, you have parallel highways, you have paradox highways. You have to have all highways and all track locations in your systems. Okay? And again, it's all connected inside line connections to your cerebro. The cerebral egos lines a placebo. The placebo is its effect that sets the position of its track location to its image. To understand that through its pathogen is understanding the position location of its structure of its design, which correlates the calculated stream interference in track location to its image in track connections, puts everything in modifications to its schematics of pi. Okay, so getting species ready to understand what happens when energy goes into them. Its applications, which is data and highways. Now you already have a formation of energy. Okay, that's your foundation right there. Boom, you're already energy. But what goes into you is the process you have to understand. And to understand that is through what? Listening to yourself inside. In all formations, in all calculations, in all directions, right? Through your space and through your time. So I said, I understand the data files communication centers. I understand the causal communication interference of uplinks. I understand the modification line centers of downloads. Okay. So you're already a formation of energy. You just have to understand what energy does when it goes inside your body. That's getting in its position locations to files, info, data. Understanding the data that's coming in through its image, through its schematics. Okay. So the cerebro can understand what you're doing through your travel. So it can set it in its mainframe. Okay. So it can store it in its archive. Or it can put anything through its storage or its facility inside of you, inside locations, through your computer line connection, your CPU. Okay. But that's all it is. They have to start identifying the images now through structure of design. Right? Especially when they come into system locations of their inner child. Okay, get in that mind conception, get in that heart through time, through its alignments, understanding through its reactor, in track location when it comes into their soul, how to see their self through light, how they identify themselves when they see the sun. Everything that you see has data. This is the process that we're all coming back to, is our memory of its data, because everything around you already knows you. Make it pass. Because you've already touched it and you already connect with it already. So if you already connect with it, your life is already in position. You've already in that calculations, but you don't want to alter that settings. Alteration line communication is understanding you don't understand the communication through emotional line connections. You don't understand the balance of your polarities and trifurcations. You don't understand the paradox. You don't understand the paradigm, the polar shifts, the pulsars, the combustions, the dimensions, the space, the time, the doors. Okay? The tractions, the provisions, the cycles, the communications, the angles, the points, the graphical system, the clocking settings. It's all inside you. Okay? That's what basically is going inside. Okay? For the very first time. But understand you exist. That alone gives you exactly what you need to do in position locations. Is start listening to yourself. Okay? Of what you are saying. Because that changes everything through alterations of your DNA's locations. Especially when you get in that location of travel, see your frequencies. Because it changes the seconds, minutes, and hours of your traffic flow. Of your amplification setting, letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. You can overflow communication lines set location in your system, allocate position and timeline safe locations, and change all paradox location in your settings. Congratulations, create a dark round. Right? We're all in that line calculation set. Just because I say it's a black hole, it doesn't mean it's a black hole. But you identify it's a black hole because you get it from somebody else. You say, oh no, I got a black hole. Because somebody said so? No. So why would you get into that position? Why would you get into an agreement on that set locations? Because that person knows its body and you don't? How is that any different in that set location? You have to identify you first before you identify anything else. Focus on yourself. Get to know yourself inside. Then you're sent. I know what I'm talking about. I know what a black hole is. I created on the set location system. Said, you don't create black holes. Now you're in debate. Now you're in competition. See? So you just focus on yourself because you know you. It's not about knowing others. It's about knowing you. Because everybody's different. But we all came to what? The same source. Okay. Now it's hard for you guys to believe that, but that's what you're coming back to, is the consciousness of everything, of its awareness, of what's inside you and how it operates all levels of you. And then once you understand that, everything comes to you in position because you've already been through it through alteration. Okay? So that's what you have to focus on. That clarity and focus puts you in position of where you're supposed to be. Okay? Not where everybody else is. Okay? It's not about you worrying because you're putting yourself into worry. See, the thing is, when we say something, we're not aware what we're saying, but the cerebral does. If you're aware and you're in the cerebral, not only it's aware, it knows exactly what it needs to do. And that's what it is. The awareness of the cerebral is going to awake. So when it awakes, it's aware of its consciousness of space and time. Okay? It knows how to understand its own setting of its own operation, of its own intelligence. Everything inside you is a compartment that's connected to you. You are connected to everything, and everything is connected to you. And that's what you're coming back to. Awareness of everything of consciousness. Unfortunately, it's through energy, vibration, frequencies, and harmonics. You have to identify yourself in all ways and forms through that formation, which is telepathy and telekinesis. That's the only way anything in position and set locations will have a direct signal with you or anybody else in traction. Okay? It's very important you understand that. The more you identify yourself inside, the more you focus on yourself, the more you come together. Okay? Getting into that set locations puts you all levels in so many communications of balance. I understand my frequency graph. I understand my Schumann's line screen. I understand my graphical calculations. I understand my modulation clocking. I understand my correlation setting attractions. I understand my perimeters and parameters of security. I understand my face recognition. Okay? That's right, Chris. Everything's connected, right? The only way for you to let go is to surrender to everything. And I mean everything. Let go of everything. Okay? Because if you don't let go of things and you get in that cerebro, not only the cerebro knows what's going on, it's going to add frames. So you have that on top of that in set locations because you're locked right in. You're in there. You can't get out. You're in there in position. So are you aware of where you're going? In the mind. See, that's the concept of everything that we're coming back to. Is the mind conception. Is the knowledge of everything. Understanding your frequencies, understanding how to use your waves, understanding how to set up a solar graph, and it's all inside location in your mind. You use your mind, it changes your reality in the real time. That's all it is. Everything is created in the mind. But understanding the process is understanding you inside, how you operate. Not anybody else. You. Okay? They go through their spiritual growth just like you go through their spiritual growth. Everybody goes through their own circuitry allocation, but this is an individual position line connection settings of a pathogen getting you guys ready to get into your spiritual force. Adaptation of the mind and conception of travel into the heart through timeline of alteration, into the soul identification of lights and track communications of your body in all communication setting, all levels of consciousness into models of teleportation. Okay? Yeah, it's amazing. It really is once you understand more levels of you inside. Okay, and I keep saying that over and over and over. Nobody wants to seem to focus on themselves. And the reason why they can't focus on themselves is because they can't figure who they are. It's like you look in a mirror and you're still looking at the mirror and you still don't know who you are because you can't identify yourself. But the first thing you do when you get in that location system, you realize, wow, I'm a body line setting line connection system. My body is all formation locations. Everything around me is connected to the same thing. So we're all connected to the same thing. One more time. We're all connected to the same thing. You can't be separated. You understand that? So everything around you is an illusion. Until you understand that, it's always going to be an illusion. So if you look at a table, you're not looking at its intelligence. You're looking at a table. But if you look at the table and you see it through its intelligence, now you've seen the atoms. Now you've seen the molecules. So everything that table has, you have. And you have to understand what that means because it's all in process of the mind. Okay, of acceleration. Your mind is going faster now, like you wouldn't believe. Now, when you get in a cerebro, how fast do you think it's going to go now? Exactly. See? So that's what it is. Unification was the heart, was the awakening. We're past that. Okay? Now, what's awakening March 1st? Your cerebro. So how do you think that's all going to connect now? If it's aware of its own consciousness, of its own information, of its own intelligence. You have to be aware of that now, don't you? Yeah. See? You see where we're going at that calculation stream interference? Don't you find it bizarre line communications? You're waking up the heart line and position line connection, your settings, your 8-track location system, and all track line connection high setting. What does H stand for? Higher self. You already know exactly what yin and yang is. It's the oversoul. Okay? You already know what sun is in track location. So if you get together and understand your settings. It's multiple levels of you, a division of balance. Multiple levels of you, divisions of balance. Okay? Your personalities, your traits inside of you, your emotional system. You always focus on a means to an end. You can't do that in the cerebro. Okay? Because not only identifies its own system, it knows exactly what it is, interactions of its own information. Okay, of its intelligence. So all lines of all communication of your compartments, the team's going to be working with the center operation line screens now into their ecosystem. You started with your ego line connections, your energy, your grounds, and your operations. But now you're working with your energy, your collaboration of your operation. Ego line, ground line, opening line. Eco, collaboration, communication, conversation. Okay? Into grounds, into operation, right? Getting into that, right? Through higher levels of line settings. So once you understand your ecosystem and your compartments inside of you, everything becomes much more easier. Okay? But you have to really identify why you have you. What are you? What is the meaning of you? What is the process of the meaning of you? Why do you exist? What is it? Why is it so important to use a computer? Why is it so important to use a phone? Why is it so important to see, right? In position, right? So in track location line setting, why is it so important to have hair? Why is it so important to wear clothes? We get doing this all day. But see, the thing is, there's a reason. Everything around already exists. This watch has a purpose. It knows its purpose. It's to tell time. So it knows the existence of its own operation, of its own setting. But do you understand that? Do you understand why you're wearing a shirt? Do you understand why you have hair? Do you understand why you wear glasses? Everything is in operational of its own data processing. So it's for you to identify that through frequency, not through words. Okay? No more words. The cerebral doesn't connect to words anymore. Your alphabetical system, bye-bye. Okay? So every time you speak through word line without frequency line, the cerebral will tell you. So I want you to really identify that and what that means in track locations, guys. You have to start identifying yourself through frequencies because your universe inside of you is all recognizable. And that's what you're coming back to. It's all that formation of space in between. Okay, now this is more of a remembering cycle and set locations. Yes, we're almost at an hour and a half, but I have to get you guys into realism of what's happened to you once you get in there. Okay, you've got to get in position of frequency. And when I say that, let's say you go through word phrase. Let's say you say, how's it going? How is it going? But you see it as a how's it going, but the cerebral saying, hey, you got to do it in frequency. It's going to tell you otherwise, you're going to get pinged. So in that line calculations, high interference, it's going to override your system and your cerebral telling you otherwise. So in that track line, remember, you're dealing with intelligence now. So it knows its operation. It knows what it's doing. It knows why it's inside locations. And that's what you come into. Getting in that position location understands the frequency of its own setting, of its own system, its own alteration of its mind. Getting into the position of its balance is to say things with frequency in position first. So this puts you in balance. BALANCE, balance. What is B? Is it alpha? Is it beta? Is it zeta gamma? What is it in position of frequency? Break it down. Okay? That's what you have to identify now. You have to use your body through frequency. Okay, so there's a reason why you're in that line connection to its cortex. And it designed a system and set location to a system line connection with pathogens. All right. Understanding the neurology of you. Okay. In position locations. Understanding the psychonisms of you. The ESP of you, the external, the sensory perceptions of you. Right. The psyches and line connection settings, positions of programs of you. Right. The psychosis of you, the psychological connections of you. All right. So in that position line centers, and all interactives, all communication system is really start identifying your body when you communicate through frequency. Okay? Because your universe only responds to that. It doesn't respond to anything else. Okay? And that's very powerful what you guys are coming into. This is a better balance, better motivation, and anything through activity location inside your settings. But you've got to get into mind and navigation to understand that through the locations, because it's not connected to thoughts anymore. It's not tethered to thoughts anymore. It's an image. And the image comes into its graphical screen line. That comes in all correlating line communication with pixels, into all line communication with its hologram, and calculation to its alteration of its ego. That's right. So in that recognition settings, you're not just going to see it through its image, but you're going to see it through its co-creation, through its light, and through its dark position. Light web, dark web. So you're automatically getting into there. So the more you identify yourself through frequency, then you understand the motivation lines and when it comes into your system of vibration. Same like it is to your waves, alpha wave, delta wave, theta wave, omega, zeta, zeta, gamma, line, radiation, line conditional system. Right? You have to identify that now. Okay? Because this is an alteration that we're all coming into, is the mind conception of change. Everything has to change. Okay, through alteration. This is the state of the mind and conception through traveling, through frequencies. Okay, so everything you identify and everything you're looking at through perception is through frequency. Okay, frequency is the line connection. You see it as location. You're at that frequency. You have your energy, but your vibration has to get there to get to the frequency. You've got to understand the chronological order, how that works. Because every time you speak, you're speaking through your energy line, your vibrational line, your frequency line, and your harmonics is the set locations. That's the chronological order you have to be in every time you speak. But break down in position, set up a pie, in position, point center, you're in the center, in line position. Take one position of one word and go out of setting. Go out to the outer norm. Go into outer space. Okay? And say that word in different frequencies all around through pi. Okay? Break it down first. Put it into word. Turn that word into frequency. And then you get a position locations that will blow your mind. You'll be able to understand. Like if I say fence line communications, fence line division. I said it 2 already, right? I said fence twice. Now I can do that 25,000 times through fence. That's out of norm. The morality line settings to your reality is your division location to your duality. How you say things, okay, is through frequency. But to get there is understanding the vibration through its wave, to get to its frequency, to understand it through communication harmonics. Okay? And that's what you have to understand. Okay? That is how your cerebral is going to be set up. Okay? Your body is going to react more if you don't understand the energy you have and the vibration through its waves. Okay? And the frequencies to its setting, to its harmonics, communication. Okay? So I want everybody to be aware of what you're coming into. So every time you're speaking, come in chronological order. Okay, and set connections. Any track communication line, interference location, frequency, position location, line center, I don't need to go through vibration because I'm already there. Okay, I don't have to stand chronological order because I'm already there. I don't have to put balance line, position, track lines because I'm already there. I don't have to say positive, negative because I'm already there. Right? So try to understand your emotional line connections. Very powerful stuff. Getting into that position is really understand how to communicate to yourself. Listen to what you're saying. Listen to what you're saying. Are you picking up the vibration? Are you picking up that energy? Your body has energy. What vibration is it at? How many volts is it at? You should know these things. Yeah, right? Getting in that position locations, you're good to go. You're good to go, right? So we all have to start there. And the cerebral is going to get you in a direct line connection. It's a guidance for you to understand that sentence. So your whole alphabetical system is going to be line connections of frequency. It's going to be the location, your energy line, your vibrational graph calculations into your harmonic locations. Okay, you have to start identifying yourself through body, through frequency now. Okay, because the earth, your perceptions, the astral projections, location, your pathogens, and location settings, and your transits are coming into pixelation graphs, turning into the line connections of transit location system. Yeah, your earth, your astral projections, and your soul in line center line interference is merging into one. Yes, they all have to come in the 7 ways. Team's going to be in that line center high interference and application of frequency panels of correlation position travel communications when it comes in affinity 8 line condition settings to the core. And the species are coming in line calculation setting at 3. So they have to learn how to adapt their system through their mind, understand the concept location setting to the heart, and travel-locations of light through the soul, and the body through reaction. All right? So that's what we're not aware of, and that's why people can't understand general, because general only speaks through frequency. I don't speak through words through frequency. I only speak through frequency. I only speak through my energy. I only speak through vibration, and I only speak through harmonics. Nothing else. And that's information that you guys have to come into. Practice, practice, practice. Okay? Put yourself together and touch yourself in set locations to your arm. You pick up the vibration, right? Everything has a vibration. What is it in position of? Does the mind understand the conception of travel? Does the perceptions of the eye understand the location system of coloration? Does your voice line correlations and track lines have balance and set locations when you touch your arm position of frequency? These are the things you have to come into allocate line communications. That's where you just have to focus on yourself now more than ever, because the cerebral is going to tell you otherwise, right? So it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. It's a guidance, but it's the higher levels of consciousness of the mind. Okay, and everybody is going to be at a different line of communications to their earth of habitation. And you really, really have to pay attention to that, because everything around you is the same thing. So Jenna, are you telling me that when I'm looking at that chair understands its vibration? Yes. Does it understand its formation of its energy? Yes. Does it understand its intelligence of its operation? Yes. Does it understand its alteration of its mind? Yes. Does it understand its correlations of its heart? Yes. Does it understand its soul identification of light? Yes. Does it understand its set location of simulator? Yes. All through a chair. So not only understands its energy, but it understands its particles, and it understands its atom. It understands its molecular line setting. It understands the protons, electrons, and photons. You know what its purpose is? You know what its purpose is? You know why we have chairs? So you can sit on. That's the meaning of life, of having a chair. Okay? It doesn't have to think. It knows what it is. It knows its purpose for you to sit on the chair. Mega pass. Okay? So you have to appreciate everything you have in front of you and stop worrying about things you don't have, because it doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, you're not in existence. You are not allowing yourself to stay in real time. So stop getting emotional and focus on your system through your energy, vibration, frequencies, and harmonics. Okay? Now, once you start doing that, you understand the purpose why you have a chair. You understand the purpose why you have phone. You understand the purpose why you have a car. You understand the purpose why you have a structure of a house. What is the purpose to have a house? To invest? What's the purpose to have a bed to sleep on? It doesn't need to identify its system. It already knows what it is through operation. You guys take things for granted. And you wonder why you don't get this. And you wonder why your universe doesn't do this for you. Because you focus too much on your emotional settings. You take that out of track location. Yes, you have emotion, but you don't add emotion. Okay? Because that offlines the communication of frequencies right away. As soon as you pick up that phone, as soon as you put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down in position, you're changing the frequencies. It's altering the setting of its traffic flow, of its pathogen, of its highways, of its intelligence, of its formations, of its portals, of its communication, of its stargates, and its travels of space and time. Okay? You're not aware of that. What you need to be aware of is you inside and how you operate. Let me say that again. How you operate. Okay? Then you understand the purpose. Why you have a chair. Why you're wearing a shirt. Why I'm wearing glasses. Why I have hair. Right? No one in line can entice sinners. This isn't me. It's me that's inside. It's me. But you think this is me. Me, myself, is protecting me from inside. Right? So what you're seeing in this is just an illusion. Okay? The actual setting inside location, inside of you, of all levels of adaptation. You inside. That's you. Not what you see. Okay? All right? Now, it's a very powerful life. Okay, I just want you guys to be aware of what you're coming into inside location. All right? See you in 5.